All right, everybody. Good Saturday morning. How's it going? The combine goes on. Today, I think we're going to get to take a look at some of the defensive front seven guys running drills on the field. So that's going to be cool. But before we get to the drill stuff, the on the field stuff, we should take a look at the guys the Seahawks seem to have a leaning towards, because the Seahawks have already met with many defensive players at the combine, and the people that they're looking at can pretty clearly indicate the directions they're going to go in the draft. That's usually, you don't see a lot of smoke screens at this level. At the end of the day, you need to take a good long look at the guys you're thinking about selecting. There's no hiding your interest for the most part. I think I had a comment a couple days ago saying that Ethan Posick was somebody we actually tried to kind of bluff our way to by not giving away our interest in him until we had selected him. But for the most part, you are going to be meeting with and looking at the guys that you're really interested in taking. So yesterday we met with some offensive players, lineman, tight end, one tight end, a running back, wide receiver. Yesterday, or excuse me, 2 days ago we did that. Yesterday we met with front seven guys, mostly edge players, but also a little bit of linemen as well. So obviously these are the guys who are going to get to show what they can do on the field today a little bit. But yesterday we started to divvy out some meetings to these guys. One guy that I'm going to talk about here is somebody who we met with at the Senior Bowl. Another guy is somebody who we are scheduled to meet with but have not yet. So it doesn't particularly matter. Interest is interest. But we got to spend a little bit of time talking about some of these guys. So let's start with D'Angelo Malone, a Western Kentucky defensive end who said that the Seahawks have stood out as the team that has shown the most interest in him of the teams that have interviewed him so far. So I think that if you're talking about players the Seahawks have shown interest in drafting on defense, D'Angelo Malone needs to kind of lead the conversation, because it seems like there's a special level of interest there from us. And also, he's not somebody who's going to be that hard to get. This is a Senior Bowl guy as well. You know we like to draft the Senior Bowl guys. So I think that D'Angelo Malone is a decent bet to be a future Seahawk. And after taking a look at some information on him, after taking a look at a little bit of the tape, I'm not going to go too deep into that stuff right now. That's for a future video. But it doesn't sound like a bad deal to me, and I don't mind the way this team is looking at defensive players so far. So D'Angelo Malone, like I said, Western Kentucky defensive end. He definitely projects to play outside linebacker in a 3-4. He's small, 240 pounds, arguably a little smaller than you would like for an outside linebacker in a 3-4, but should be manageable. Very productive career, played in a ton of games, almost 50 games in his career, actually, I think 50. 5-year career. So this is a guy who played a lot in college and is probably already capped out in terms of his physical abilities and his frame. But a couple years ago, he was very productive, 11 sacks, 20 tackles for loss. Last 2 years, a little less productive, but 8 sacks, 18 tackles for loss. Excuse me. Very disruptive over the last 4 years, very athletic, playmaker in the backfield, always gives maximum effort. I didn't see anything that said that you could question his motivation to play in this league. The downsides with him are that he's undersized and there's a lack of strength, which I guess that makes sense when you take a look at how he's 240 pounds, but it shows up in his play. The knock against him seems to be, can he play against the run? He's a little small for it. He may struggle in that area. And physically, he can play in space. If you take a look at him, if you take a look at his athletic abilities and his small stature, he can play in space, but we haven't really seen him do it yet because Western Kentucky didn't have him do it that often. He does project to be a good fit in a 3-4 defense, and you can get him in the 4th to 5th round, according to the things I've seen. So D'Angelo Malone, to me, would be very interesting to bring in as a backup rush outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense for the Seahawks in 2022. So this is a guy who I think would project to split snaps with a much better player. I don't want him starting as a rookie, obviously, but if you get him in the 4th or 5th round and he can rotate in off the bench, that's pretty good. Okay, so the next guy that we have met with is Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State primarily, although he initially played for Temple. This is another guy who projects to be an outside linebacker in a 3-4. He's a little bit stouter than Malone, and he's a little bit of a higher-end prospect. But basically, Arnold is here because of what he did in 2021 only. He was pretty quiet at Temple his first 3 years, and then in 2021 went to Penn State, almost 10 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, 62 total tackles, played in 12 games. Very nice season, very productive season. And Arnold is a guy who you can say some similar things about. He's speedy, disruptive in the backfield, but you got to keep it simple that first year. It sounds to me, based off some of the stuff I read and the stuff that I saw, Arnold Ebiketie is somebody who you just want to put out there and say, go get the quarterback. In fact, some of the stuff I saw kind of indicated to me that maybe he would be a better fit in a 4-3 as a defensive end, a Leo, more so than an outside linebacker in a 3-4. So if you get Ebiketie, you might be able to get away with playing him at outside linebacker because he is athletic, he is speedy, he is disruptive. But I question his ability to play the run a little bit. I question his ability to play in space a little bit. It seems to me that his game right now is going to be something pretty simple. He projects to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. A lot of this stuff sounds good. I don't know about the scheme fit. I don't know if he's really a 3-4 outside linebacker. Maybe because you're doing hybrid stuff, you need to give consideration to guys like this, but I'm not crazy about it just based off that. Okay, the next guy we're going to take a look at here is Logan Hall from Houston, 4-year career over there. He had a very nice 2021, 6 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. When I look at Logan Hall, I kind of see Michael Bennett. He's versatile on that defensive line. He can play 5-tech. He can move inside on passing downs and play 3-tech. He's got a good frame. He's a great athlete. High motor, not somebody who takes plays off. He's got good technique. He's a little bit small for some of the stuff he was doing in Houston. They were moving him all over that defensive line. They were playing him at 1-tech, 3-tech, 2-tech, 4-tech, 69-tech. They were playing him all over that defensive line. How he projects into the pros is a little more narrow because the NFL, you're playing bigger and better players. So it seems to me that he's a kind of Michael Bennett-like guy. The question is, can he play in a 3-4 at defensive end? Because that, to me, is where he projects to go if he's going to be in a 3-4 defense. I don't know if this is really a 3-4 guy. I don't. So I'm a little worried about that. And the other thing is, Logan Hall, as of right now, is probably going to be about a 2nd-round pick, according to what I'm seeing. So you would need to spend your top pick on him. And if you're going to spend your top pick on him, you better believe that he needs to contribute for you in a significant way as a rookie. So I like the player a lot. He can give us some of the stuff that Bennett gave us, but is that going to work in a 3-4 defense? Maybe. It's possible. I'm not pessimistic about this one like I am with Ebiketie. I'm not sure. I think it can work, but I would also need to see it work first. Okay, the next guy is Perrion Winfrey. This guy's got a little bit of a higher profile. Oklahoma defensive lineman, 300-pound dude approximately, or just a little shy maybe. In 2021, he had 5.5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. And like Logan Hall, he played all over the place. They played him at like nose tackle, 1-tech, 3-tech, 5-tech. They played him all across that defensive line, and he did pretty well at all of it, but that's at Oklahoma. He's going to need to learn how to do something specific in the NFL. He's big and lengthy, and he's fairly athletic for a guy of his size. This is not just like a trash can full of dirt. I kind of see a guy who might be a better 4-3 guy in Winfrey. This, to me, strikes me as sort of a 3-tech. like somebody who could be like a Grady Jarrett, more so than a guy who could be a defensive end in a 3-4. So I question the fit here. I'm not a big fan of this idea here simply because I'm not sure if Winfrey's going to be able to do the things he needs to do to fit into this defense. Again, I know it's a hybrid, but you kind of need guys who can be in both roles. Can Winfrey be that guy? You're probably going to have to spend your second round pick to find out. So, little skeptical there. Okay, next guy is Darrian Beavers. Played across two schools, Connecticut and Cincinnati. Spent his first 2 years at Connecticut, was mildly productive, and then he went to Cincinnati and played on actually a really good defense and was also quite productive. Not as disruptive in the backfield as you would like maybe, but this last year, 11 tackles for loss, almost 100 tackles total, 4 sacks, pretty good. He's aggressive and he's a physical player, and he can hold his own in zone coverage. He's a high IQ player when it comes to understanding how to play the run. He's high IQ when understanding how to drop into a zone defense, and he's very versatile. I've seen some stuff that thinks that this guy's eventually going to be a middle linebacker in the NFL, and he can play outside linebacker as well. He's somebody who can play all over the place, and in a 3-4, I think that's actually a good idea. In a hybrid defense, that sounds pretty appealing to me. He's got good mass. He's, like I said, a great hybrid fit, and he's a guy who may go in the second, but you might be able to get him in the third round. I would put a third round target on Beavers, and if he's there, I would say go for it. He's a guy who could be a outside linebacker off the bench for you as a rookie, and maybe start inside in year 2 or year 3. So fills a couple different potential needs. Okay, next up is Drake Jackson from USC. This is another outside linebacker prospect for the Seahawks. Definitely projects to playing 3-4 outside linebacker. Played at USC for 3 years. Never put up monster stats. His most prolific year was actually his freshman year when he had 5.5 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss, 46 tackles. He didn't break out the way you would have hoped, but he was playing in the Pac-12 where COVID hit much harder than a lot of these other places. So, Drake Jackson, he's a good athlete, very quick off the edge, has some good pass rushing moves, mostly just wins with pure athleticism, though. That's something that he needs to work on. He's hit or miss against the run. It seems to me that he's good against the run when the run is going away from him, but when you run towards him, he can have problems. But the thing that's really interesting to me about Drake Jackson is that he's excellent in coverage. Like, he can cover a wide receiver, and it's not completely outlandish. So he is an ideal fit to play outside linebacker in a 3-4, where he can be a pass rusher, but also drop into coverage and hold his own there when need be. Right now, Drake Jackson projects to be a third, maybe a fourth, but probably a third round pick to me. I would be relatively excited to bring in Drake Jackson as a speed rusher off the bench who can also cover. Okay, 2 more guys, and this first guy is somebody who I don't believe we've met with yet, but we have scheduled a meeting with. It's Boye Mafe from Minnesota. A lot of people hyped on this guy, and with good cause. At Minnesota, he slowly grew into being a force to be reckoned with. He missed a lot of games his first 3 years in college, but 2021 he had 7 sacks and 10 tackles for loss for a who are they, the Golden Gophers? Yeah, the Golden Gophers. So he's a great athlete. He can play great in space. So this is another guy who is going to be great playing outside in a 3-4. This is somebody who has skills that translate very well to that specific role. The main problem I see with Mafe is that he needs some time, because right now he's a little inconsistent. His technique is not great. He's somebody who that first year he might play a few hundred snaps and make a positive contribution, but you get to that second year, third year, he can become a really good player, and that's a little scary when you're talking about a second round pick. But Mafe is somebody who is very exciting. He has a very high ceiling, And it would not surprise me if the Seahawks decided, you know what, let's take a little bit of a risk here. Let's gamble to get somebody who has a chance to be great. Final guy we're going to look at here is Travis Jones. This is a guy we met with at the Senior Bowl. Don't think we've met with him at the Combine yet, but it doesn't really matter. We've shown interest, and it's clear why. This is a purified nose tackle in the NFL. He's 330 pounds. He was a lot heavier when he showed up at Connecticut, by the way. Played there for 4 years. He missed all of 2020, but he has, over the last 2 years he's played, he's been a consistently strong force against the run. He's put up good stats as well. He makes plays in the backfield. He gets decent pressure for a guy who projects to be a nose tackle. He's got 13 and a half tackles for loss and 8 sacks over the last 2 seasons. So productive. He's not just the trash can full of dirt, but he plays exactly how you would want a zero tech to play. He's a good athlete, excellent against the run. He eats up blocks. He plays unselfishly. This might be my favorite guy that the Seahawks have looked at with a second-round grade so far. If we got Travis Jones in the second round, then you don't really have to worry about bringing back Al Woods. And honestly, at that point, Brian Monet, even though he's going to be cheap and it's whatever, he becomes somewhat expendable too to me. So Travis Jones, if we could get him in the second round, I think that's probably what it would take. That might be the ideal pickup because we need to worry about that nose tackle. So that's all I have right now. Those are the 8 guys on defense in the front 7 the Seahawks have shown extreme interest in. And my overall thoughts are a little bit mixed. So on the one hand, I really like the fact that the Seahawks seem intent on addressing their defensive needs through the draft. Like they're trying to do this 3-4 thing. They want to do it through the draft. So I like that because hopefully it's going to leave some more money to spend on the offense. Try to get some offensive linemen in here who are good. Take care of the running back room and the tight end room. So attacking the defense in the draft is a good way to save that money. However, where I'm a little concerned is I don't see anything here that is going to take this defense to where we really need it to go. Like, for instance, just as an example, outside linebacker, I don't see anybody here who I would feel great about starting across from Darrell Taylor year 1. I don't see anybody here who I think would go, oh yeah, he's going to day 1 be a quality starter, somebody who can help wreak havoc along with Darrell Taylor. Those guys, I see them in free agency. So even though I do want to take care of this offense, I do believe there is enough money and I do believe there is enough of a need to spend something on that defense, but I'm a little worried we might be tempted to use a rookie to start at the outside linebacker spot. Okay, so that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm out of here. Go Hawks. Might be a video later. Streams on Twitch later. Let me know what you think.